Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Paul Shaughnessy, joined on the line, as always, by Cody Saftic, coming off the heels of UFC 264, McGregor versus Poirier. Cody already broke down his whole spiel. You can find that up on the Mayo Media Network right now. How'd the card break down for you there, Cody?
Yeah, it did. It would have been a lot better if Stephen Thompson would have won. And then, we just had blocks and blocks of parlays that would have cashed through as a result. But yeah, Dems to breaks, right? I mean, in hindsight, it's always easier to look back and be like, oh, I should have had this guy higher up the card and that guy lower down the card. But you don't know the results going into it. So I honestly thought that Thompson would be one of the safer guys and that he just needed to avoid those grappling exchanges. And he was going to have a big striking advantage over Gilbert Burns. But on that last week's card was a bit of a double whammy because not only was it supposed to be good and Thompson just took a little bit of the shine, off the end result. But also Tate also won his fight. And then for whatever reason, I was feeling so good about it, probably thinking Thompson was about to win, that I agreed to take a shoey. So we got a bit of housekeeping. I know, got a bit of housekeeping.
I blew it.
Here.
I didn't bring my stuff here. I forgot about me doing a shoey.
You know what? I very close was to be like, I'm just not going to do it. But a deal's a deal. I said I would do it. It would have tasted so much sweeter if I had a gold neck around my necklace and a new car in the driveway. But no, I get it. Stephen Thompson. And normally we take dirty boots. And you saw Tuivasa, I think the second shoe he did on the way back from the ring, it was like the same boot. You saw the expression on his face. Apparently there was hot sauce in it, but dirty boot.
That was a party foul. However, that was a party foul. Big time right there.
Yeah, it was
you don't
big
do
time,
that.
Big time.
Come on.
No, why would you? Yeah, I know. Why would you put hot sauce in it? Seems weird. But anyways, normally we do boots. The tradition is to be a shoe, brews and shoes. However, to honor Stephen Wonderboy Thompson one last time, we're going to do it out of a wrestling boot. Why? Because he probably doesn't fucking own one of these things. God damn it, Paul. All he had to do was stuff a couple freaking takedowns. Anyways, Thompson is still... I still love you, but thank God that was awful.
Yeah, I avoided Thompson because I just couldn't shake Anthony Showtime Pettis knocking him out of my brain. Not that the fight played out that way, but it got me off of that. Big plays were Brad Tavares, Tai Tuivasa, and my third big one. Oh, there he goes. My third big one was crushing that one, kid. Good for you. It was Dustin Poirier. So all of my props failed, but the big plays came through. Ended up being a pretty good night. You want to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook? Use the promo code DOP, and they got a bonus waiting for you. I don't know the details. I don't have them written in front of me, but they've got a bonus if you make a new account there. So
and
tune in later, point, Pat says.
Yeah, but to that point, the promo last week, which was 264 to 1, in that would the fight end in the very first round by TKO. What ended up happening? Exactly what happened.
Well, you would have had to have first round. You had to have Poirier in that instance, though.
I thought it was just at the fight end.
Nah, you had to pick your side.
Well, thankfully, that was one of the picks that we did have right last week, is that we went with Dustin Poirier, who got the job done. And again, I mean, he was the last guy that we would have needed on the tickets had Wonderboy done the damn thing. But again, I can't feel bad for myself. I can't feel bad for the read, because nobody lost more than Stephen Wonderboy Thompson himself. So, I mean, all jokes aside, this guy was looking at a potential title fight. He was looking at a big payday. He was looking at a career high spot. He's 38 years old, and you know that this was probably going to be his last run for the title. So he's not collecting his win bonus. He's not collecting any sort of bonus because, I mean, the fight wasn't exactly good. This probably knocks him down a packing order, which it's not the thickest division with talent. He could still work his way back in there, but at 38, what do you got to do? Go beat 2-3 more guys? Like, it's a very tough run, I would say. But yeah, Dems to breaks. I'm not sure what the promo is this week. As Pat said, tune in later and he'll have the exact details of it. But I've noticed, because, I mean, we're MMA guys, so we follow the MMA version of things. But DraftKings Sportsbook offers tons of promos for pretty much any sport. Like, they got something on the NBA playoffs right now. It's the same thing. It's like 150 to 1 on these bets. Now, you put $1, you create an account, or use the promo code. you can use $1 and you can, it's not like they're going to let you put $100 and make all this tons of money, but that's why they're offering you some crazy lines. So pretty cool to see. I love how the UFC broadcasts are incorporating it in, like they're playing the DraftKings Sportsbook stuff. Everything's kind of heading that direction. And best fight odds is basically the last one that needs to get with the program, because now they're listing FanDuel first. Who would pay $850 for Islam Makhachev? Like, you are out of your freaking mind, man. No book offers a price that bad, and yet apparently that's what best fight odds is leading with. So it's important to get a good book, and yeah, I think DraftKings Sportsbook is probably one of the better ones going.
Cody taking shots at the competitor. You gotta love it. All right,
we're gonna talk about it. But why is it $850?
I'm saying you gotta love it. I'm saying you gotta love it.
$850, my God.
It's the stable that Islam Makhachev is part of. Obviously, let's get right into that. We got Islam Makhachev taking on Thiago Moises, minus 675, not minus 850, as it is at FanDuel. Minus 675 at DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 475 for Thiago Moises. You are definitely paying the piper, and you're paying the lineage, you're paying the family, you're paying for the fact that Khabib, the Eagle, Nurmagomedov is in the corner, and they're like best friends. They call each other brothers, but it's like they've just grown up with each other. He was trained by his father. He's part of the deal. It's almost like Khabib's finished his career, and he's putting all of his time into making Makhachev the new championship. And you look at that Drew Dober fight, and some people are saying, oh, it was it wasn't a great performance by him. It's just like, I don't know. He finds those takedowns, he finds those trips, and he gets top control for probably 12, 13 minutes of that fight. At no point was Drew Dober ever in it. Did Drew Dober do a little bit of a better job protecting himself? And, was there really ever a finishing opportunity for Islam? Not really. But if you can get these types of takedowns, even in the first 3 rounds, and then even hold on, it's like it's hard for me to think of anybody stopping that game. I think that Khabib, obviously at the end, the rest of his game had been a little bit more developed. I think his ground and pound is definitely more violent, more lethal, more savage. But the technical wrestling that was put on display by Islam Makhachev in most of his fights at this point, even against Sarukian, who was who's a very, very untouted prospect, who I think is a top 10 guy in the future in this division. Thiago Moises, there's always that old that shirt that Khabib would wear. It said, if Sambo was easy, it would be called jiu-jitsu. It's just like, is Thiago Moises probably the best grappler that Makhachev is going to face on the ground? Maybe. Is it going to matter? Not with the Dagestani knuckle gang. I think it's the price is super expensive here, but I have a hard time picking against Islam Makhachev here. What about you?
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with pretty much everything you just said there, but what I'm not going to agree with is this price. Certainly not at $850, but even at $675, it just seems a little too thick. It's so much recency bias cooked into this line. When you look at Islam Makhachev, that fight with Drew Dober was his first fight in almost 2 years. He had taken a long time off on the sidelines. He's defeated Drew Dober since that return, and that's it. And yet they're giving him a 7-1 price tag over a guy that's kind of more proven in the division, that he's fighting more frequently. Not the same dominating performances, but one thing you'll note with Thiago Moises is that he's able to come out of adversity. He's able to lose the first round. He's able to take a little bit of damage, and he's still able to squeak through. He's able to fight on. He's still able to make those adjustments. That's one thing that we just don't see from Makhachev. He's the hammer. He's pretty much always the hammer. We know he can be the hammer. The one time that he faced a little bit of adversity, that would probably be his pro loss against Adriano Martins, in which he's knocked out. Since then, it's rinse and repeat. He takes these guys down. He holds these guys down. You made a great point there with Khabib. His ground and pound's a lot heavier. It's a lot more vicious. It's a lot more ferocious. Well, actually, Islam Makhachev, it's not even like you compare one guy's ground and pound's heavy, one guy's is light, one guy's is heavy, one guy's it's non-existent. Makhachev is not throwing strikes when he's on top. That fight with Drew Dober, it makes it into the 3rd round. He had landed 15 strikes. His fight with Arman Sarukian, it went full 15 minutes, 14 strikes. His fight with Nick Lentz, 15 minutes, 43 strikes. His fight with Chris Wade, 15 full minutes, 12 strikes. He's not hitting you when he takes you down. He might hit you one time standing to shoot a takedown, to take you down, and then he's going to start grinding on you. That game plan is going to work day and night. in a 3-round fight. In a 5-round fight, it's a lot more interesting because one, I don't know if Islam Makhachev can fight hard for 5 rounds. Khabib was able to do it, but he's a specimen. It looks like Makhachev will be able to do it. He himself is in great shape. He does not look like he's getting tired in these spots. But again, at least it's uncharted territory for him. Then you got to namely think about, okay, well, he's not landing any of these strikes because he gets the takedown so easy, but he's not really striking a whole lot stand up. The takedowns just come too easy. Against Thiago Moises, at least if there's this idea or this perception, maybe you don't want to take him down. Maybe he fishes for the leg lock. Maybe his BJJ is pretty good. Well, at least it gives you cause for concern. If you're not taking him down, you're forced to strike with him. I give the striking advantage to Thiago Moises. So not only does he need to make sure that he's getting these takedowns, he needs to make sure he's getting these takedowns. Yeah, probably. I'm just saying the 650 line or the 675 line is not something I completely agree with. So you got Makhachev because he's Khabib's boy. Everyone loves it, but Khabib's not fighting professionally right now. Is he in camp? I don't know. The guys at American Top, AKA. Who exactly is at AKA right now? Who exactly is he working with? The gym's kind of a little bit in disarray in that they've had a lot of pieces move away or retire in the last couple of years. So you just don't know where they're at. But because he's friends with Khabib, because it's that same lineage, because like you said, he's another Dagestani fighter, I think you're getting this huge price tag on it. It's not like he's been super impressive. It's that he routinely gets overlooked. And I think that's the biggest key here. The reason why this line is so big, you've got one guy in Makhachev who's everybody's darling, everybody knows the name, and they're making a direct comparison to Khabib Nurmagomedov. And you got the other guy in Thiago Moises that, and just nobody cares about. But you see steadily improvements from him as well. Look at his 3-fight winning streak, right? For fact, the Michael Johnson fight, he's getting beat up. He turns it around in the second round. He gets the knee bar, gets the submission victory. But he's an even money pick coming into that fight. The next fight against Bobby Green, he's a plus 255 underdog. Goes in there. Yeah, probably should have lost. Got outstruck. But the thing is that Bobby Green fought a stupid game plan. Thiago Moises fought much better. He got the takedowns when he needed the takedowns. When Bobby Green would get clowning around on the standing, Thiago Moises would take advantage. He cashes that ticket as a 255 underdog. Then he comes right back to fight Alex Hernandez as a plus 185 underdog. Now, here's the thing that people forget to realize with Thiago Moises. He's only 26 years old, and he trains at American Top Team. He's one of the mainstays at American Top Team. He's one of the lead training partners for guys like Dustin Poirier and George Masvidal and the best guys in the world. He's still 26 years old. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He was a competition black belt that had some success. His striking's getting better. His durability's getting better. What's there not to like? And yet, again, this is just another, he's there to lose price tag. I think his cardio's okay. I think he's going to have a slight striking advantage. And I think his BJJ is enough to maybe keep him safe. I agree with the assessment again. Makhachev is the favorite. We all expect Makhachev to win. But we all expected Thiago Moises to lose his last 3. Most people, right? There's a reason why he's coming in.
He lost most of these fights, though. I mean, Michael Johnson was whooping his ass on the feet.
Michael Johnson does that.
Then he finds round two, dives, finds an ankle, finds the finish. Just like that's just MMA being MMA. Bobby Green had like 40 significant strikes more than him. Like, I had money on Bobby Green. I was pretty sour. I don't really yell robbery all that often. And like the way that the fight ended and the way that fights are scored in MMA, I can see the argument for Thiago Moises winning that fight. But like, by every freaking metric, Bobby Green should have been cashing tickets for me that evening. And then the Hernandez fight, another razor close fight. The major difference that we see here is that Islam Makhachev throw out the Adriano Martins. I guess that would be like a one little question that we have about this guy. Is he a little bit chinny? But it's pretty much one-way traffic. He grabs a hold of you. He finds a trip. He gets it to the mat. And he doesn't have the same ferocity, as we keep saying, as Khabib did. But that technical wrestling is on point. And we said it with Khabib a million times. People go, what happens when he takes on somebody with jiu-jitsu? It's just like, if you're on your back against this level of Dagestani wrestling, you're losing. Like, that's just the way it is. These guys are incredibly hard to submit. Like, if you even trap them in some sort of submission, like, their ability to maneuver and escape is second to none. I think the price is a little bit wide too. I couldn't help myself. I parlayed them with someone else that we'll talk about later on down the card. But I understand the argument. It's just like this. Khabib was only this big of a favorite in like 2 of his like 15 fights in the UFC. I think it was Ally Quinta, who was on 1 day's notice, and I forget the other one. But yeah, Habib was usually like, plus 300 or minus 300, minus 400 in a lot of spots. Sometimes you'd even get better odds. They're definitely making you pay the piper on the name. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and then I guess the last point would be, again, I mean, this guy's just wrecking machine and he's smashing guys, but you look at his record and it's like, okay, so his wins in the UFC are Leo Kuntz, who's no longer with the promotion, his loss to Adriano Martins, who's no longer with the promotion, Chris Wade is no longer with the promotion, Nick Lentz is on a 3-fight losing streak, figures to be on his way out. Gleison Tebow is no longer with the promotion. Cajun Johnson is no longer with the promotion. Arman Sakrukian was 22 years old and took the fight on very short notice. Davi Ramos, I don't believe is with the promotion anymore, but he's hanging on. And then he has a quality win over Drew Dober off a long layoff. Mm-hmm. I agree. I love his style. His style is the most successful style to apply to mixed martial arts. Completely agree. Just the price tag is the only thing I'm trying to point out. So where I made a mistake, I don't know. It's all about, if you're making parlays, right? It's all about who's that key piece, who's that guy that's not going to lose. And then you make a mistake. Oh, well, I really put too much faith into Wonder Boy. I just don't want to be caught in the same space where it's like everybody's universally just on this guy. Next Khabib. Why do we say that? And is that recency bias causing this line to be out of hand? And is that line being out of hand going to cost me money come Saturday? Those are the things I'm trying to figure out. However, the official pick would be, I would probably have to agree with your assessment, Islam Makhachev, and probably like that over 2.5, but
over 2.5. I don't have listed in front of me. It's over. It's 4.5 that it's lined at.
Yeah, I don't think this goes 5 rounds, so I would say the under 4.5 would be the move, but
which is plus 115 is Cody's call on that one. All right, we got Miesha Tate taking on Marion Reneau. Miesha Tate minus 135 favorite. Marion Reneau could be had for plus 115. Narrative Nation all over this fight. I mean, Miesha Tate hasn't fought in 5 years, but she's only 34 years old. On the other side, we've got Marion Reneau, who's 41, and this is the dreaded retirement fight. She said that she is all done after this fight. Here's the thing with like Miesha Tate is I didn't even really go through and watch too much tape on this. I already have a play, Miesha Tate. I got it like minus 122. I think minus 135 is still more than fair in this spot. 5-year layoff, but I've been watching the Instagrams. I've been looking at her YouTube feed, and it's like she looks like she's in the best shape I've ever seen her in. This, if it was a comeback fight against like Holly Holm, I would definitely be a little bit nervous in this spot. Could she recreate the magic that she did when she got the title off of Holly Holm? I don't know. At this stage in her career, 5 years off, lots of red flags in that respect. Marion Reneau's on a 4-fight losing streak. I just don't think that her head's 100% in the game anymore. I think Tate's the play here, and I'm actually surprised that the odds are the way that they are. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, you got a former champion, you got someone who's got the name again, but there's just so many red flags. I mean, the 5-year-long layoff, the fact that she gave birth to a child and is returning from that. But beyond that, I mean, from the sparring footage that you've seen of her, from the stuff released online, like she's probably holding back. She's probably not trying to show all of her tricks, but she doesn't look nearly as explosive. You mentioned that she's in good physical shape, but I just don't think that she's near the same version that left the sport. And the version that left the sport wasn't all that great. I mean, she was kind of at the tail end. And then last but not least, something that people are really not talking about, more or less her entire professional mixed martial arts career, she was coached by her boyfriend, Brian Caraway. He's her go-to man. He does everything in camp, fight preparations, studying the fights, helping her with the weight cut. He's like her lead training partner. And the guy's brilliant. You know, he's a legitimate BJJ black belt. He's a very smart guy. He's battled anxiety throughout most of his career, but has still gone out there and beaten guys like Aljamain Sterling. You know, like he's competed at the highest level despite all this stuff. And when she ditched him to get with Johnny Nunez, who's a fucking loser, you know, I mean, is he going to show you anything? No. Dude's like 9-3, but he's never attained anything notable in his career. He fought on The Ultimate Fighter and got bounced pretty quick. He's not Brian Caraway is what I'm getting at. So sure, she's at Extreme Couture as she was, but I just don't think it's a good version of her coming back. When she retired, she's retiring to have a child. Her and Brian split up, even though they've been together for well over a decade. And she gets a job as like an executive for One Championship. Did you ever hear anything about that? Did she do anything? Was she ever like meant? I don't know. She just took an executive job. And then 5 years later, I don't even know if she's still with Johnny Nunez. It's just she's back for a fight. And at the time, it was like, you know what? Good on her. She's probably sitting at home. She's bored. She's got the itch. She wants to compete. She's 34 years old, like you mentioned. There's a bad taste in your mouth coming off back-to-back losses. The Amanda Nunes one you give a pass to. The Raquel Pennington one, that was a bit of a tougher pill to swallow. So you sit at home, you think about it. You know what? I got one left in me. And for her to come back and take like a one-off fight versus a Marion Reneau, that's cool. But yeah, apparently she's still got championship aspirations. She still wants to fight Amanda Nunes again. And that I don't fully understand. If you're looking at this for simply what it is a style clash, then yeah, I think Miesha Tate probably does get this fight to the ground, does end up on top, and then it's just going to become a grappling match. Marion Reneau is a BJJ black belt. She's okay off her back, but at 44, the explosiveness isn't quite there. The strength's good, but is she going to out-muscle Miesha Tate? Probably not. But yeah, I mean, just there is a world that exists where Miesha Tate doesn't land that takedown. It's forced to be standing. Miesha Tate lands a few jabs. She's looking good. She might look like she has a slight speed advantage, but Marion Reneau's rugged, and she keeps coming at you. And when she keeps coming at you, she causes problems for opponents, right? Whether they still beat her, that's fine. But when she comes forward and she hits you, then there's this sense of, oh no, am I in the wrong spot? That's kind of how I felt when she fought Raquel Pennington. She's coming off a title fight with Amanda Nunes. She is a rock solid favorite over Raquel Pennington to win this fight. I think the line officially went off at, actually, you know what? She wasn't that big of a favorite, only minus 135. But it was just like you could tell in that moment, it's like the wrestling wasn't quite there anymore. The desire wasn't quite there anymore. The skills weren't quite there anymore. She's starting to fall behind. That's UFC 205. It's 5 years ago. So much has changed since then. So, yeah, I don't know. I just have really no faith that she's going to come back to a good version of herself. Now, the UFC's done an excellent job.
Does she have to be a good version of herself to beat 44-year-old Marion Reneau, though?
Yeah, so fair. The UFC's done the perfect thing. Matchmaking's gone out. Who's an older fighter in the division who doesn't really have the skills to pose that many of a problems and is currently not on a great run right now. And then you draw Marion Reneau. It makes absolute sense. But really, Marion Reneau's losses, we're going to laugh at her losses. Kat Zingano, world title challenger, and is currently doing really good in Bellator. Yana Kunikeya, right, looked like dog shit last week against opponent who missed weight by 6 pounds. But, I mean, she sent Yana to the hospital because she absolutely pulverized her in that third round. You got Raquel Pennington, the same woman that rearranged Miesha Tate and caused her to retire. And then you got Macy Chiasson, who won the Ultimate Fighter at 145 pounds and is considered a pretty big girl in the division at 135. Since Miesha Tate's last fight in 2016, Marion Reneau's had some 10 fights in the UFC. The experience is there. We say she's 44, but she keeps herself in excellent shape. And one has to imagine, whenever fighters announce their retirement before the fight, Paul, you know this just as well as I do, it doesn't go good. It doesn't go good. But in her case, it's like she's 44. They told her she'd never make it to the UFC. They told her she was too old to be on the Ultimate Fighter. They told her that she'd never win these fights, collect these bonuses along the way. And now it's her final fight. She's going to go out guns a-blazing versus Miesha Tate that thinks she wants to fight again, but doesn't know for sure until she gets in there. So I know this is people are gonna be like, cop out, but like I would pick Miesha Tate. What I'm trying to tell you is that I have no fucking confidence on the fight. Okay, so just because, dude, he just talked about Marion Reneau having a shot, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just either pass or I guess the UFC is trying to mash up Miesha Tate for a specific reason. But this is a card where a lot of these underdogs are going to cash in. It's going to be parlays are probably going to get shit on pretty heavily this week because, again, there's a lot of uncertainty and it's a lot of mid to lower mid-level fighters. But because Miesha Tate has a name, she's a former champion, let's completely forget about the fact that she needed that fifth round stoppage over Holly Holm and she was going to lose a decision. She's a former world champion. She has a big name. She's a pretty gal. She's fought those fights with, she's fought those fights with Ronda Rousey. She has a high profile. And is that the reason I'm going to bet her? She hasn't fought professionally in over 5 years. It's way too big of a red flag for me, even though I agree with the assessment that she should win. Should and will are two far different things.
Cop out.
Yeah.
Bet Tate.
Be a bunch of them, I'm sure.
Bet Tate, come get rich. All right, we got Mateusz Gamrot taking on Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens at 155 pounds. Gamrot minus 210 favorite. Stevens can be had for plus 175. Obviously, Stevens missed weight last time out. At featherweight, he's always really, really big at featherweight. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good fight. I got to go with my guy, Mateusz Gamrot. I mean, yes, am I a bit of a nut hugger? Sure. And hopefully this is not this week's Stephen Thompson, but I really like what I see out of him. And when he was in KSW, he was the biggest 145-pound guy you'd ever seen in your life. He's moved up to 155 pounds. And whereas he doesn't maybe have that pure size, I mean, he's so well-rounded. He's good everywhere. It really comes down to what kind of game plan he's going to fight, and that's the one knock on him. Similar to my boy Rowdy Barcelos, skills everywhere, but like what's maybe the one knock? Like too hesitant, slow starter, waits too long to get going. He's fought in so many 5-round fights in KSW that he would routinely drop a round or two and then pick up the steam and put these guys away the later the fight goes, or just sheer domination the longer the fight goes. But in a 3-round fight, he's there to get exposed the same way as Rowney is. You got to get to a fast start off on him, and then by the time he figures it out, he's just down too far in the hole. Makes his UFC debut. You were right on this one. I was wrong, of course. I got a 315 ticket. You got like a plus 250 ticket on Guram Kudalits. And, your whole narrative there is that Kudalits trains with guys that are grapplers. He's out of the same gym as Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, he had been working specifically with Chimaev for a long period of time, training striking secrets for grappling secrets. He's a big, strong, thick Georgian man, and getting him down is going to be a bit of a problem. And Gamrot, when he doesn't take you down, he's a little lackadaisical with the striking. You were quick to that. I thought it wasn't going to matter. Gamrot's already fought elite level competition in Poland, and this is just going to be continuation of that. He's undefeated for a reason. He draws a lot of similar parallels to a Georges St. Pierre. And then, the Kudalits fight exactly how you thought. Dude never shot his takedowns. Dude just followed him around. He waited far too long. He gave up the first 2 rounds. And then in the 3rd round, woke up, realized he was in a fight, and put it on him. Unfortunately, put it on him too late. One judge thought he did a little enough in the 2nd, but 2 judges didn't believe he did it, and he ends up losing the fight, split decision. Coming back from that to the Scott Holtzman fight, it looked like there was more of a sense of urgency. It was more like he realized there's only 3 rounds. I need to go out there and put it on him right away. When you leave KSW, when anybody leaves KSW for the UFC, it's a big money thing. The UFC is giving you big money because KSW signs probably the best contracts in Europe. You could get paid. Guys like Mamad Khalidov have turned down UFC contracts because they'd rather hang out in KSW and make bigger paydays to fight lesser competition. When he left KSW as an undefeated two-weight class world champion, he signed a good contract with the UFC, and they're going to want him to earn his keep. In that Holtzman fight, it looked like he was interested in pursuing this, doing the best he can. Came in, better game plan, got on him right on the get-go, looked a lot better doing so. This fight with Jeremy Stephens, again, Jeremy Stephens is a big name in the division, but they're paying this guy enough money. He needs to go out and fight those big name guys, moves way up the division, potentially line himself for a potential title shot. And that's what you got in Jeremy Stephens. Is he a big 45er? Yeah. Heavy hitting 45er? Yeah. At 55, even though this is a weight class he has fought at in the past, I just think the grappling is going to be there to expose him a little bit, as well as he's the hardest hitting featherweight, right? But is he the hardest hitting lightweight? Maybe not exactly. And that's another thing when you're dealing with a guy that's just relentless like Mateusz Gamrot, is if you could hit him and hurt him and keep him honest and keep him to the outside, maybe you'd have a little more success. Jeremy Stephens has nasty leg kicks. Maybe try to, demobilize this guy a little bit. But Gamrot's a gamer, and he just keeps coming at you. He's got solid cardio, especially because it's only a 3-round fight, not a 5-round fight like he's accustomed to. And I just think he's going to get his grind on and just be able to wear Stephens down over the course of time. If anybody's got a puncher's chance, it's obviously Jeremy Stephens. And if you go back to that debut for Mateusz Gamrot, you see that maybe a big, strong power puncher that can stuff the takedowns will give this guy trouble. But I still think he's improving, growing, getting better. 55, much better weight class for him than 45, where he's not killing himself on these weight cuts. And I think that this will be a good showing for him. So I got Mateusz Gamrot over Jeremy Stephens. I'm going to say probably by decision. And I feel better about that one. Well, I guess I feel okay about the main event, but the price tag is a runaway. I don't love that co-main event. At least here with Mateusz Gamrot, I agree with the line, and I'm going to pick him.
I'm not a big Gamrot believer, to be perfectly honest. Just watching his tape, seeing what he does, he kind of jumps at the ankle. But my biggest problem with him is if you're a wrestler, being able to secure someone to the mat, hold them down, and deliver ground and pound. That's so huge. He got 5 takedowns against Guram Kutataladzs, and none of them really credited for anything because Guram was able to get up really fast, and there wasn't really any ground and pound from top. It's all well and good to be able to jump at that ankle, find the takedown, but if you really can't have any sort of meaningful top control time, I think the judges kind of throw it out. For me right now, on this fight, it's a dogger pass situation. I'm gonna pass, but I'm watching the weigh-ins, see how Stephens shows up at 155. I'm just not a Gamrot believer.
Fair enough.
Prove me wrong, Mateusz.
As you know, the Dogger Pass podcast is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, and not only is DraftKings Sportsbook America's top-rated sportsbook, it's also the preferred sportsbook of the Dog or Pass podcast. We love using DraftKings Sportsbook. It's easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in on all the action. Our friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. Listen to this great offer. DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you courtside with a chance to turn $1 into $150 in site credits. That's right. Pick either basketball team that is still in contention, bet $1, and if that team wins, you win $150 in site credits. So you should do that. Don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook also offers great odds and promotions on baseball, hockey, golf, MMA, and so much more all week long. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DOP when you sign up to turn $1 into $150 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if they do that, you will claim $150 in free credits. That's promo code DOP, Dogger Pass, for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
All right, we got Rodolfo Vieira taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Vieira minus 250. Favorite Stoltzfus can be had for plus 195. I mean, this money line, across the board, every single sports book that you look at, it's just like, I don't really understand why you would be laying minus 250 on Vieira when there are much better options on how to bet this fight. You've got, Vieira inside the distance in like the minus 120, minus 125 mark. You've got Vieira by sub at like plus money in some spots right now. That is the play on this. Like Rodolfo, for that first 5 minutes, like against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, coming out like a bat out of hell. He's so athletic and aggressive that it's like, I think he can get that takedown against people early. And you have to put on a submission defense clinic like Fluffy Hernandez did and tire this guy out. I would be very surprised to see Vieira win like a decision in this type of spot. So I think a lot of the value from these markets that are a little bit later in the fight, it's just like what I see from Rodolfo Vieira, he's either going to take you down and use that world-class jiu-jitsu and finish you real quick, or he's gonna fade away. So it's like the way I see this fight playing out, I made a play. I got Vieira by sub round 1, and I've got Vieira by sub flat, because maybe he gets him in the second round or something like that. I imagine he's going to come out with a little bit more of a, a little bit less of a reckless style. Like he was a bat out of hell against Fluffy Hernandez, and it's debatable whether he had a good weight cut or not in that spot too. But yeah, the money line is kind of a direct stay away. I think Vieira, more often than not, gets this job done, gets the fight to the ground, and styles on him on the mat, though. What about you?
Yeah, it's another fight I just don't really care to bet. The line's not good. I mean, Rodolfo Vieira just showed that he's a massive bust. Is he one of the great BJJ practitioners? Yes, but these great BJJ practitioners aren't having success in the UFC. I mean, we just saw what happened with Ryan Hall. Chase Hooper is not a great BJJ practitioner, but again, it just goes back to the fact that if you're super one-dimensional, yeah, you'll get away with it from time to time. Yeah, you'll catch those lower-level guys and you'll submit them, but there's nothing else in his game. Can he strike? Does he have cardio? His wrestling is really predicated on just being so strong, being really explosive, and peeling these guys to the ground. The weight cut is definitely an issue because if you see him, he's shredded up, dude. He's a big guy. Now, he had been spending all of his time at Fusion XL in Orlando, little strip mall. He's working with guys like Mike Perry, who's known to have a bad gas tank, Jacare Souza, who's now currently really known to have a bad gas tank, Alex Nicholson, who's known to have a bad gas tank, Philip Rowe, who's known to have a bad gas tank. Yeah, you know what? Writing kind of was on the wall there. This guy needs to finish in the very first round. Lucky for him, He's the black belt hunter. He's Rodolfo Vieira. If he gets you to the ground, you're screwed. Just like what he's able to do in his UFC career. Oscar Pachoda, Saperbek Safarov. He's mauled right through these guys. The Anthony Hernandez fight was a weird one because you can blame it on the weight cut. You can blame it on the fact that he was ill-prepared. You can blame it on the fact that maybe he doesn't have great cardio. But like that, outside of the first 3-4 minutes of that first round, he didn't have any success, man.
No.
He gassed out tremendously. He looked so stiff and rigid standing. He did not like getting hit. He did not respond well to getting hit.
Nope.
You could tell him even in that first round, shit, Fluffy Hernandez is giving him all he could handle. When he got that takedown, it was like, thank God. But I remember yelling at the screen, you need to finish it now. You need to finish this right now. And when he failed to finish it right then and there, it was all over. Hernandez comes out in the second. This guy's slow. He's lethargic. He can't take that much of a punch. And then of all things, he gets submitted. Now, how does he get submitted? Well, he gets submitted because he's so unbelievably tired. His body's shutting down. If we give him excuses that he's going to come in as a better version of that, then yeah, okay, maybe he can make it happen. I just have no faith that he can. And whereas Dustin Stoltzfus is not that great of an opponent, he's got a pulse. He's got a heartbeat. He's breathes air, right? And the fact that he's alive means he could potentially win this fight because Rodolfo Vieira will need to submit him probably in the first round, maybe in the second round, or he just gets way too tired. I guess the thing with Stoltzfus is that he is a BJJ black belt, right? He wrestled a little bit of a Pennsylvania before moving to Germany. He's beaten a couple okay guys like Jonas Billenstein, but he's never been knocked out as a professional. He's never been submitted as a professional. He's a Planet Eater black belt, which is a camp. It's in Germany, but it's essentially Dean Lister's camp. And he himself is a black belt, I believe, under Peter Sabata, another UFC veteran, known for his grappling and known for this like spamming kick game. He can stand up, spam some leg kicks, hopefully try to stuff some takedowns. If for whatever you do get taken down, use that BJJ to cover up, hold on, keep yourself safe, eventually work your way back up, or the round ends. Now the next round starts standing. And if Vieira gasses, the worst guy in the division could potentially beat him. And if this is the worst guy in the division, so be it. But if he gasses, this man will still defeat him. So at minus 250, that's the problem, dude. I'm not opposed to betting it. Yeah, I'm not opposed to betting it at minus 120, minus 125, minus 130. You know, I'm not opposed all the way to minus 145, maybe, but like anything over that, like I'm not into. This is not a good looking card. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It might be entertaining. It's not. You bet single spots. In fact, make 2 or 3 bets on this whole card, but jamming in these plays is not going to be a good idea.
Oh yeah, jamming in the minus 250 money line is just like this is Rodolfo Vieira proved to us last time out. He's a prop fighter. You gotta find your spots, improve your value because his paths to victory are significantly limited. I think we saw that last time out. And don't even try to get tricky. If you're a Stoltzfus guy and you're like, you know what, I'm thinking Stoltzfus round 2 TKO or round 3 TKO, and that the Vieira gets super tired. It's just like I would stay away from that because Fluffy Martinez, nobody had him winning by sub. So if Vieira gets super gassed, all bets are off of the table. Like you're betting this as a Rodolfo Vieira round 1, which I see on DraftKings Sportsbook is plus 165. I mean, if you're going to make a play on Vieira, you stay away from this money line. I'll be very surprised if I see him win a decision. I just don't know if he's really cut out for it. And like his stand-up is so questionable that it's like he's basically forced to try to get this fight to the ground as soon as possible. Prop fighter or bust, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm on Vieira by sub. That's how I'm playing this one. All right, next one up, we got Gabriel Mowgli Benitez taking on Billy Quarantillo. Mowgli, I think is the best price on the market right now. As I look on DraftKings Sportsbook, is minus 160 favorite at DraftKings Sportsbook. Billy Quarantillo can be had for plus 140. When this fight first opened up, I think Mowgli was like plus 115 when it opened up to whatever shops it opened up, and people steamed it immediately, and it moved to like minus 220 in a bunch of spots, and I was just like, whoa. I love me some Mowgli, but it feels like this price is getting a little out of hand. I think we're now a little bit more in a rational spot for this line. Do you have a hard lean on this one?
Yeah, I think the line was missed, really. I mean, if you could get Gabriel Benitez at that opener at plus 115, that was the move. I mean, you're getting a dog selection, one that's going to go in and give you an honest effort. But Take it from a Billy Q fan, a Billy Q guy. You know me. Billy Q's my guy. I do not see this going very well for him at all. Billy is entertaining. Billy's got seemingly infinite cardio. Billy brings it. He's got heart. He's got a submission game. He's not physically strong at all. He's not strong enough in there. These guys are just, they're routinely overpowering him. And from the skin of God, from the nick of defeat, he's able to come back because he relies on his cardio. But the better you're going to be fighting guys, they're not going to get tired. They're not going to go away. And that was so evidently clear in that Gavin Tucker fight. I can't comfortably get behind Billy for a while now until Billy shows something. He looks like a bag of milk standing next to a bodybuilder when you look at him next to Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker is not a bodybuilder, and Billy Q is not a bag of milk. But the physicality is certainly a thing, man. The Jacob Kilburn fight, he actually loses the early portion of it, but that never say die cardio, he keeps coming at him. Same thing in the Kamala Kirk fight. He gets his ass kicked in the first round, never say die attitude, he brings it back. Spike Carlisle, he loses the first round. It's a very close fight. Tons of people screamed robbery, but he was not nearly strong enough to deal with Spike Carlisle, but he was lucky to get that win. The Kyle Nelson fight, spots, that's a very winnable fight for him. All the same is that finally the Gavin Tucker fight. And mind you, I've cashed 3 straight and a Contender Series ticket on Billy. Billy crashed big for us on Contender. You remember that. Plus 185. The Jacob Kilburn fight, he's a 3-1 favorite, expected. The Carlisle fight, he cashes as a plus 130 or as a minus 130. And then Kyle Nelson, again, he's 3-1. He's 4-0. We're cashing tickets on him. We're happy. But that entire course of that Gavin Tucker fight, it was very hard to watch. It was like I knew Billy was not working his way back into this one like he did previously. He just wasn't strong enough. He can't muscle these guys to the ground. He can't stand there and go punch for punch because they're just hitting a lot harder than he is, right? He doesn't have the same firepower. Can he volume guys? Can he out volume guys? Absolutely. And the kind of guys that you'll out volume are the Spike Carlisles and the Jacob Kilburns and the Kyle Nelsons. Those guys you can get the jump on. But Tucker was a smooth operator and a fringe top 20 guy, and it looked like Billy was not even anywhere near his league. Now he was supposed to take on Herbert Burns. This is a good fight because Herbert Burns has got zero cardio and he's a BJJ black belt, but Billy's a BJJ black belt with great cardio. I would have been Billy all day. Billy might have lost the first round, but he wouldn't have got submitted. He would have came back in the second or third and got the job done. I'd have been on Billy all day. Now you lose Herbert Burns and you draw a guy that is a brick wall. He's way too strong. His striking is way more advanced than yours. Those leg kicks alone are going to seriously debilitate Billy and take his ability to move away. Because we've got Benitez taking the fight on short notice, maybe there's your narrative. Maybe there's your narrative that, he's short notice, he's not quite ready, and even if he wins the first 2 rounds, Billy's going to come back. I don't see it happening. I really don't. And by the way, these guys are short notice, but they know the gist. They know the routine. They're staying ready. They're staying on weight. They're staying close to weight, and they're getting ready for these fights. So I have no doubt that Gabriel Benitez will be sufficiently prepared. He was supposed to fight Jonathan Pierce 2 months ago. He missed weight. I don't know if this one's rebooked. No, it's still at 145. I guess you're gonna have to wait to see the weigh-ins. If he's short notice, he has a bad weight cut, and he does tire, it's gonna be a problem. Even if all those 3 things happen, he's probably still up 20 to 18 going into the third. All he's got to do is survive, right? So tough spot for my boy Billy, really is. I hate picking against him. This will be officially the first time that I do so. If he proves me wrong, well, that's Billy doing his thing. But I don't think that Gabriel Benitez is a good opponent for him.
Yeah, the only thing I can really add to your breakdown there is like Enrique Barzola was kind of the one guy that showed like the path here, and it was securing 9 takedowns against Gabriel Mowgli Benitez. Usually I'm all over Benitez because we're getting like dog prices or like close to a pick 'em on it. It's a little bit more difficult. The price at DraftKings Sportsbook minus 160. It doesn't transfer through to best fight odds that way. It looks like it's a lot worse, but on the actual website minus 160, that seems like the play for sure. But yeah, it's like I just don't think Billy Quarantillo has the strength, as you were basically talking about. He doesn't have the strength like Barzola did to just be a pit bull, move forward, and just secure takedowns and hold position. I think he's going to eat a lot of damage on the way in there. I'm actually, in terms of like the over/under, I'm more kind of inclined to go to the plus money to the under 2.5. But I'm going to wait to see the weigh-ins on all of this. As you were saying, short notice, all of that good stuff. Next up, we got Daniel Rodriguez taking on Preston Parsons. Daniel Rodriguez, a minus 310 favorite. Preston Parsons can be had for plus 245. This is the leg that I parlayed with Makhachev up top. I don't really understand it all that much. Preston Parsons obviously coming in on short notice. You go through his record, you go through some of his fights, and he looks very, very dominant in some of his fights. But it's like he's fighting a whole like league lower of fighter, and he's a bit of a can crusher. Most of the fights that I've seen on the regional scene for him, whenever he has taken on like decent UFC level competition, Valdir Araujo was able to finish him in the first round. Platinum Mike Perry was able to finish him in the first round. I don't really see, is he going to be able to wrestle, control Daniel Rodriguez? I don't know. Daniel Rodriguez he's pretty good everywhere, to be perfectly honest. The boxing's definitely on point. He's a 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu guy. I like where this fight goes pretty much everywhere for Daniel Rodriguez. On top of that, Preston Parsons, I've noticed that a lot of his 170-pound fights, he comes in at like 168, which leads me to believe he's really probably a lightweight that's not really cutting weight. D-Rod all the way for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to side with the experience of Daniel Rodriguez. I mean, this is, how sometimes you get a new replacement opponent. Billy Q's case, it's like, oh man, this is a way worse fight for me. In this case, it's like Daniel Rodriguez is supposed to be taking on Abubakar Nurmagomedov, and you go from that to Preston Parsons. So surely this should be an easier outing for him. You can't completely write off Preston Parsons in that he's done some good things. You point out those fact that he's lost pretty convincingly to Valdir Arroyo and Mike Perry. He fought Mike Perry. He was 19 years old. He fought Valdir Arroyo 2 years later. He's 21 years old. And then he actually takes off 2 years after that, comes back, and now he's on this 4-fight winning streak. Is the level of competition suspect? Yes. But I'll give the guy one thing. I mean, his grappling seems pretty okay. Seems like he's fairly heavy from top. His wrestling, again, all okay. If for whatever reason he was able to get Daniel Rodriguez to the ground, could be interesting, right? And Rodriguez's case is that he's fought Tim Means, a striker, Gabe Green, a striker, Dwight Grant, a striker, Nick Dalby, a striker, and Mike Perry, a striker. So there's a narrative to be said there that even though I think he's a 10th Planet BJJ black belt, what's he look like off his back? That's the main thing. What's he look off his back? Is he able to explode to get back up? He has questionable third round cardio. We've seen him gas out in the Gabe Green fight. We've seen him gas out in the Nick Dalby fight. I suppose that there's an avenue there. If you put some pressure on him, you were to tire him out, you were to take him down, and you were to spend some time in top position, that could be a serious problem. And Preston Parsons looks like a physically strong guy. Is he blowing through cans? Yes. But physically, he looks like a strong enough guy that maybe he would be able to get a hold of him, peel him to the ground, and then show us something new. But you just spent a whole camp getting ready for Abubakar Nurmagomedov, right? You didn't work on your wrestling. You didn't work on your up game. You didn't work on, getting up off your back. Come on. Mm-hmm. You would think that he's ready for all of that stuff. He's got a significant striking advantage. He's got the length. He's got the reach. I actually really like his boxing, and I think his submissions are a little unheralded. I mean, again, he's a 10th Planet guy. He's got the submission win over Tim Means, which is a standing guillotine over a guy that was mildly concussed. But all the same, like, he's not a fish out of water. And I think that this would be a good fight to prove that. Hopefully you don't get taken down. But if you do get taken down, you need to show that you're okay. Last but not least, he does have questionable cardio. But with Preston Parsons, he's on short notice. And he did just fight. I want to bring it up exactly. He just fought 5 weeks ago. He fought Jeff Patterson.
Yeah, that was the fight I watched last.
Yeah, but think about fighting Jeff Peterson 5 weeks ago and now fighting Daniel Rodriguez in the UFC in front of a live crowd, right?
I mean, that fight was one-way traffic. He whooped Jeff Peterson's ass, but just like I was watching him, just like, this is not the same level. Like, he's got a much stiffer test in front of him in Daniel Rodriguez, so.
Yeah, and I'm a D-Rod guy, so I would agree with this one. I would say if you were going to parlay a piece up, he feels like one of the safer guys on the card. But there's about 4 or 5 guys that are all 3-1, and there's a few, at least a few of them I think are going to be in for a rough night. I'm hoping it's not our boy Dan Rodriguez, and he is able to get through this one.
All right, we got Amanda Lemos taking on my girl, Neck Tat. Cashed me a big ticket last time out. Montserrat Ruiz Conejo. We got minus 550 Lemos, plus 400 Conejo. It's like kind of close to like what the prices were for Cheyenne Buds, and everything that I saw on tape. I loved. I was all about Conejo last time out. The price was definitely right. I thought that she could bully and control. It's a bit of a one-trick pony show, though. The minus 550 on Lemos kind of makes me a little bit queasy. Like against Mizuki in their fight, she ends up like losing head control battles against the cage, particularly in round 2, I believe. That makes me a little bit nervous, paying the Piper at minus 550. I did make a play, 2 plays, both small, so I guess that kind of turns it into a medium play. Lemos inside the distance, minus 125. Lemos by KO, plus 175. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Lemos gets the job done here and makes it look good. Montserrat Ruiz is a one-trick pony, and that it's not like Rodolfo Vieira or Ryan Hall, where it's like that one trick is some bona fide BJJ. No, it's literally one move in a set of grappling moves, right? She's good at a head and arm toss. She'll get you in a head and arm toss you, hold it, very strong. That's it. Her striking looked bad against Cheyenne Buys. She just, whenever she needed that takedown, she got that head and arm toss. As she started to get tired and as she started to get desperate, wouldn't you know at that time? Yeah, she's eating shots big time. And then she would just grab that stupid goddamn position, toss her into it. It's a position that's virtually dead in men's MMA. You do not see it anymore. In fact, it is strongly ill-advised in that you'll probably give up your back. Most people do give up their back. And that Cheyenne Buys fight, she actually did give up her back a bunch of times. The thing is that she would never let go of it. She never let go of it. The round would tick away. Very hard to watch. And yeah, it's not going to work forever. So pretty cool that Tate scored you a big ticket. If you'll remember, that was the only fight on the card I got wrong. It killed the PRP. Cheyenne Buys.
Think about how big your PRP would have been with Tate in it, pal.
Yeah, I know, because Buys is like a 3-1 favorite. And you know something? And I made the joke with my buddy, we were sitting there, but JP gets dusted off in the second round of the very first fight on the card. And I was like, fuck, I should get out of these Cheyenne tickets. And I did it. I don't know why I didn't, but I did it. Everything happened. So was she shook? I don't know. And she's upset afterwards. She's like, bitch, I'm going to follow you home. That was the greatest line of all time.
It's hilarious.
Bitch, I'm going to follow you home. But it was all in all, it was like Montserrat just kind of did what she had to do. She just took that one position. It's very hard as a judge to be like, oh, well, she got hit a few times. Yeah, but she got controlled and dominated from the same position. Dominate is a bit of a stretch in that she's not taking damage. She's not getting ground and pounded, but you're secured in one position. You can't get out of it. It's tough. Now, who's able to do that? Only someone who's very, very, very physically strong. And I would say that Montserrat Ruiz is someone who's very strong. I would say that she might have success getting this head and arm toss 1, maybe 2 times. The difference there is that Cheyenne Buys, it wasn't like she was committed to really, she didn't want to put herself in a bad position to get out. It was almost like when she'd get caught in it, she was just going to put one hook in and hold on and wait for the referee to do something about it. Only the referee's not going to do anything about it because it's a good position. It's like a back take. You take someone's back and you just hold it. They're not going to stand you up. She's got a scarf hold choke. She's working for a neck crank submission. You don't stand this thing up. So Buys was her own enemy. It was that she allowed way too much time to tick by before trying to get up consistently. I don't think that'll be the case here against Amanda Lemos. Lemos has got a better grappling game. She's got a much better striking game. She is 34 years old, but I think she's filling into herself a lot better. If this thing does hit the ground, I think she's going to be okay. And as far as the stand-up game, you really saw massive improvements from her last time out against Livian Souza, where she drops her multiple times with a power jab. Finally, the ref just has mercy and steps in. That same type of stand back, use that power jab, dictate the action, stuff those takedowns. If it does hit the ground, take her back if you can. If not, work to get back up. It should be rinse and repeat. So I think Amanda Lemos gets the job done. But buyer beware, this type of bullshit head and arm choke, hold on to it. Like that does win fights. And it's not pretty and people complain, but it's an effective move. Yeah. It's one of those things. I hate to go ahead. No,
I
just
think that the shots that she was eating against Cheyenne Buys there, it's like against Lemos, who, like, don't get me wrong, Lemos at 135 when she took on Leslie Smith, like, if that person showed up, I think that's a totally different person than when she showed up there, short notice at 135. At 115, she seems like a totally different beast. So it's like I watched that fight in the lead up to this. I'm like, here's how things could go horribly if that happens. Maybe she has a bad weight cut and then that reemerges. That could be problems for her. But the strikes that we've seen her landing, like, they're so long, crisp. Like, I think those are going to cause big problems. And the one trick pony, thank you for cashing me a ticket last time out, but this ain't it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, man. Yeah, she drops 2 weight classes after her debut, and she actually took a little over 2 years off. And the version that you saw come back, 2 weight classes down, 2 years off, was much better. Again, I know that she's 34, but she's only got 11 professional fights. So I think she's still green, she's still learning, and she's putting it all together. She will be a factor here. So this is one of the fights I'm more interested in betting.
All right, we got Khalid Taha taking on Sergey Morozov. Taha minus 150, Morozov plus 130. Who you got?
I'm going to have to go with Sergey Morozov. It really does come down to his ring IQ. And is he going to shoot the reactionary takedowns? Is he going to keep on him with the wrestling? Is he going to just grind? Because that's what it comes down to. Khalid Taha is pretty explosive. He's a short guy, but he is heavy-handed. You don't want to stand in the pocket with him for a prolonged period of time. You really don't want to strike with him for a prolonged period of time. The other thing is he's a cheater. You know what I mean? He got a no contest over Bruno Silva, test for steroids. Mm-hmm. You see the guy, he's pretty jacked up. He used to fight in Ryzen. When he fought in Ryzen, he was pretty jacked up. It always looks like he's either just had the most incredible backstage workout before fighting, or he's greased. But if you want him down, you can get him down. He's not greased, because when these guys decide in their head, I would like to take him down. Now, Khalid Taha generally gives up the takedown, and that's what is really going to come down to the game plan. So again, he's only 5'5". He's a short little fire hydrant of a guy. My boy Roundy Barcelos gets the 2 takedowns over him, and it's easy work. Bruno Silva got 2 takedowns of him prior to getting submitted. And then his fight with Nad Narimani, he's taken down 6 times by Nad Narimani. Keep in mind the Bruno Silva fight. He gets a submission. He ends up testing positive for steroids. He's taken down twice. Bruno Silva fights in the UFC at 125 pounds. He is a flyweight through and through. Taha, other than being, jacked up, he's not that much bigger than a flyweight. He's a muscular flyweight. And that's why he's having trouble against these guys that wrestle, because when he's allowed to strike, yeah, he's fast and he is heavy-handed. And if he hits you, he can create a lot of damage. But when these guys start leaning on him, he doesn't have the cardio to keep up. He's not physically big enough to keep up, and he doesn't have the takedown defense to keep up. Sergey Morozov, at his best of his abilities, can do exactly that. I mean, he's a guy that came up short against Movsar Evloev for the M1 Global title. And then when Evloev left, this guy shined. This guy shined in the M1 Global organization, won the 135-pound title, fought a couple guys, got his win. Or he had lost to Josh Reddinghouse, got that one back over. You see that he's growing. You see that he's getting better. They bring him into the UFC and they give him Umar Nurmagomedov. Well, that's a tough fight. That's a tough debut. You're going to take this guy down? Good luck. Strike this guy? Well, also going to be good luck, because he's going to be taking you down and smashing you up. And that's what we saw out of Morozov. So I almost feel like Morozov's line, and it's officially
plus 130.
Plus 130. I almost feel like it's a lot of recency bias. Like, you're looking at, he just got smashed up by a legitimate guy and this and that. He has skills. He's well-rounded. He's got skills everywhere. The biggest thing is he needs to get to that wrestling. Grind on Taha, take Taha down, make this difficult for him, tire him out, and then everything will come together. So as far as a live underdog, Sergey Morozov plus 132, plus 125, depending on what your book is. I think that if we're going to take a shot at an underdog here, Morozov could be that guy. Do we need him to fight the proper game plan? Yes. Do we need him to showcase some high ring IQ? Yes. But as far as style clashes go, this one could very well favor him. And surely no one's stupid enough to stand in front of Khalid Taha. Everybody knows he can hit. Everybody knows he's a cracker. That sounded stupid. Everybody knows he can hit. Everybody knows that he's got firecracker power in them hands. You don't want to stand in front of him. So if Morozov's smart enough, and I do believe he is smart enough, he'll get those takedowns. If he does that, he could be a good live underdog cash here.
I like where your head's at there. I think it's a dogger pass. I don't have anything on it. I'm not sure if I will. I'll wait until I see weigh-ins, and maybe it's a better live type of thing where just make sure the Taha doesn't absolutely just come out looking like he's back on the gear. No. But yeah. All right, we got Miles Johns taking on Anderson Dos Santos. Miles Johns minus 165 favorite. Anderson Dos Santos can be had for plus 145. Went back, watched Miles Johns most of his performances, to be perfectly honest. And last time out, you could really see he's been working on this jab. He's got that jab, firing it out. Kevin Natividad is just eating it like it's breakfast. Obviously, his first fight against Cole Smith, you kind of saw some of the holes in the game there. He could be kind of controlled against the cage. His grappling seems to be a bit of a work in progress. The Batista fight, he was just outmatched in terms of speed and technique on the feet for the most part in that matchup, and then gets finished in round 2. Anderson Dos Santos, on the other hand, BJJ black belt. I feel like this is a really dangerous fight for Miles Johns. I wanted to talk to you about it first because you've been I feel like you've been pretty on the money with Miles Johns most of the way here. But I do have concerns that like Miles Johns goes to that wrestling when things aren't working out on the feet. Anderson Dos Santos is going to just pressure forward, try to throw bombs, and then if it ends up in a grappling range, like I feel like he's probably going to have a pretty sizable advantage here. Like Cole Smith was able to like control that back. I know he's got really long legs. He's really long for the division, but he was able to have some serious success down there. I'm sure Miles Johns, he's 28. I'm sure that there's major improvements happening every single fight camp, but I'm a little timid on laying the hammer on him. For me right now, I think it's a dog or pass situation. What about you?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Miles John, not take the underdog on this one. I think that he's still making a lot of improvements, and he's got a lot of weapons that I like. So, again, he's only 27 years old. You would expect this guy to be continuously making improvements and rounding out his game, and I'm going to give him that benefit of the doubt. I'm going to make those excuses for him. I'm going to say that a lot of the adversity or a lot of spots where he's making mistakes earlier on in his career is he's still learning on the job. I mean, he wins the LFA title beating Adrian Yanez. That's a solid win. Mm-hmm. He's got wins over Caio Machado. He's got a win over Levi Moles. So he's defeated some good guys on the regional scene before coming to the Contender Series. So now he's on Richie Santiago. This is a walk in the park win for him. This is going to go very smoothly. Only as it turns out, this Richie Santiago guy is just so durable, man. He just will not go away. And he just marches Johns down the entire time. Now, does Johns win? Yes. Does Johns win the decision? Sure. But it was like he did look tired in the third round just by virtue of Richie Santiago is so stubborn and really tough. So now the Cole Smith fight, again, he doesn't look great. In fact, I thought he won the first 2 rounds, but in the third round, he gave up his back. Cole Smith was able to grind him, have some success grinding him a little bit. But I go back to he's still green. He's still young. He's still improving. I mean, the Richie Santiago fight is it's less than 3 months before his UFC debut. So you win in front of Dana, you get the contract, and now less than 3 months later, it's like quick turnaround. You're back in there against Cole Smith. You make your debut. He wins. Then he gets Mario Batista, gets caught by that flying knee. It's like, is this guy limited? But he's still young. He's still making improvements. He's a guy that wrestled D2 at Newman University, I believe, got injured, didn't really partake in the full season, but was a decent high school wrestler, was a guy that at least qualified for the D2 level. And I think in MMA, you're starting to tie all that together, but it's putting all those skills together. At first, it was just the wrestling. While he wrestled a little bit, he's a skilled wrestler. And his problem is that he'll chain wrestle, but he shoots everything so explosive. He'll shoot multiple takedowns. He doesn't have great top control. Nope. So once he takes you down, you get back up, and then he's got to shoot another takedown. That's a lot of work. That gasses you out. But then in that Kevin Natividad fight, what you see is the jab as well. He's got fast hands.
Here's my concern.
He's starting to work.
Here's my concern with that jab. He's got a 66-inch reach. He's giving him 4 inches of reach in this spot, which I think, Anderson Dos Santos, it's mostly like hooks. He's not really fighting too long, but my concern is that what I see on tape as Miles Johns' best weapon may not be all that effective in this spot. That's my concern.
See, my counter to that would be Anderson Dos Santos has a 4-inch reach advantage, but he's 5'5". He's got a 2-inch height disadvantage. He's the smaller man than Miles Johns. So even though his reach is slightly bigger, you've watched it. Obviously, you watched the tape. You're a smart guy. I trust everything you say. When you watch them fight, okay, Miles Johns shoots that jab straight linear to the target. Anderson Dos Santos, every strike he throws is a fucking hook from the outside. Yeah. So what's going to hit the target first, right? Anderson Dos Santos moving forward, throwing hooks from the outside, or this kid with the natural speed advantage, faster hands, using that jab straight down the pipe. So he's going to beat him to the punch. Then the thing is that he's going to mix in his wrestling. That's where things get a little more dicey. Anderson Dos Santos is a tyrant off his back. He does not mind grappling. He loves throwing up submission attempts. So the concern would be if Johns' wrestling, chain wrestling, tires himself out, is starting to get bothered by the forward pressure by Anderson Dos Santos, which again, he does move forward a lot, and he gets tired. Well, then he could definitely get himself into some trouble late in the fight. Maybe like the third round, he gets caught in a submission. or something of that nature. But I think his cardio is improving a lot more. Like, again, he's still young. He's at Fortis MMA, one of the better gyms in Texas. He's got a plethora of good high-level training partners to work with. I mean, he's in camp right now with Carlos Diego Ferreira. So you're telling me that guy is not going to have you ready for what Anderson dos Santos is bringing to the table? I expect him to be better. He's getting experience. He's getting older. He's adding to his skill set. Whereas dos Santos is 36 years old. He's got a loss to Nad Narimani, who's never factored into the UFC. He's got a loss to Andre Ewell, who's a fringe top 25 contender.
Yeah, the reach on Ewell was like really the big thing in that fight, though. Like Andre Ewell's got insane. He's like 76-inch reach in this division.
Yeah, huge.
That was like
huge.
the big problem
for
him in that fight.
Yeah, but it was also the jab as well. Like Ewell mostly throws jabs to set up a switch stance left hand or something. So
10-inch longer jab than
sure.
Miles Johnson.
Yeah, right.
So I saw that path. I'm like, that path could be here, but like 10 inches, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's a huge reach advantage, and I agree. Anderson dos Santos has a 4-inch reach advantage here, but the better striker is going to be Miles John. The better wrestler is Miles John. So Miles John should be able to dictate where he wants this fight to take place. If he's having the better of the striking exchanges, keep striking. If the fight hits the ground, it'll be by his own merit. And then last but not least, the Kevin Natividad fight, he knocks him out in the 3rd round. I think that's a clear indication of this guy's cardio is starting to get better. He is starting to get more experience. He is starting to feel more comfortable in his own skin, improve as an overall fighter. Whereas Anderson dos Santos, he is pretty limited. We know what we're getting out of him. He is who he is. He could still win this fight. He could still pull the upset. But I don't think I'm going to back him personally as an underdog in this spot. So I will take Miles John. But again, this is another fight where I fully recognize that there's a lot of danger involved. All
right, we got Francisco Figueiredo taking on Malcolm Gordon. Francisco Figueiredo, -320 favorite. Gordon can be had for +250. Surprised that Malcolm Gordon's in the 3rd fight in the UFC, to be perfectly honest. We've said it on the show before. We'll say it again. I mean, the guy's durability, definitely a big question. He's been knocked out by much lesser talents all the way through his career. The one real question mark there, because his grappling was supposed to be on point, Amir Albazi snagging up that triangle choke was another kind of like red flag as far as I'm concerned. Going back and watching Francisco Figueiredo, obviously Davison Figueiredo's brother, I didn't really see the power there, but it was kind of tough. I guess Jerome Rivera, when he took on Zalgas this past weekend, at least early on, it's like he was giving Zalgas some fits on the feet. I think he's a sneaky long striker, and Figueiredo just dedicated himself to the takedowns, getting the fight to the mat, and controlling in those scenarios. I can't help it. I ended up making a play on Figueiredo. I don't really see the power. I wanted to be able to find some of his fights from Jungle Fight on the Brazilian regional scene because he's got some knockouts there, but it's kind of a bit of a blind faith one and fading the chin on Malcolm Gordon. I took Figueiredo inside the distance +125, and I got Figueiredo Gordon under 2.5 -125. What do you think?
Yeah, so the scary thing here is that, like, am I considering Malcolm Gordon? Am I at least giving him his respect here that he could pull off the upset? Like, that's crazy. The fact that I'm even thinking that really goes to show you how bad Francisco Figueiredo could potentially be. Malcolm Gordon, very few times, there's no such thing as locks, right? But very few times will you hear me saying, no way he beats Amir Albazi, and then follow that up with a no possible way he beats Suma Derji. That was the lock of the week, the play of the week. Further much crushed the inside the distance, and by knockout, Malcolm Gordon can't take a punch, man. He can't. It's the sad, unfortunate thing about MMA. His first pro loss against Randy Turner, who is a part-time fighter, part-time military guy from Ottawa, he gets knocked out. Then he took on Austin Ryan, who is a local regional guy from Alberta, and he got knocked out. Then he took on Dimitri Waterberg in Quebec, and Dimitri Waterberg absolutely just toasted out his leg. I had talked to Malcolm Gordon at a regional show right before, and he wasn't giving the guy any respect. It was just like, hey, man, how do you think the fight's going to go down? And he's like, how do you think the fight's going to go down? I don't know, man. You going to try to take him down? Do you think I should take him down? Yeah, dog, I do think you should take him down because he's going to fuck your leg up otherwise. And sure enough, he did. He took that fight up by 135, and you can tell he's just not a 35. He's a natural 125. His win, it's extremely suspect. Michael Jordan, 3-1 fighter out of Michigan, never went on to do anything. Jordan Graham, he was actually a badass, good Muay Thai fighter from Canada, but he was 2-0. He just how does a guy with 12 pro fights fight a guy that's 2-0 that just turned pro a year prior? It's a mismatch, right? His fight with James Mancini, that was actually solid enough. James Mancini, decent wrestler, picks up that win. And then this Yoni Sherbatov fight. So Sherbatov was on the Ultimate Fighter. Sherbatov was supposed to be the top Canadian flyweight of all time. Supposed to be a legend coming out. Never quite panned out. Sherbatov broke his rib early in the first round. And, still he's absolutely shit-kicking Malcolm Gordon. This close to knocking out Malcolm Gordon. And Malcolm Gordon ends up on his back and submits him with a rear naked choke. It's a grand moment. He won the TKO title. But the writing's on the wall there, man. He cannot take a punch. Amir Albazi, I was only somewhat familiar with him because I had watched his Jose Torres fight from Brave FC. And that in itself was enough that it's like, yeah, this guy's not losing to Malcolm Gordon. No chance. So he proceeds to beat up Malcolm Gordon standing, even though that's Malcolm Gordon's base. And then the second the fight hits the ground, Gordon's the black belt. Gordon's the guy that doesn't want to strike with guys anymore because he knows he can't take a punch. Well, he's submitted immediately by Albazi in that triangle choke. They do give him one more. He draws Sumadirji. That's why I'm drawing this narrative that it's like, watch what happens. Literally the first punch that Sumadirji will land on this guy will wobble him, and the second punch he lands will probably knock him out. Sure enough, that's exactly how it happens. 2 punches in, he's on skates, and then he's knocked out. I'm as shocked as you are. I don't know why they would bring him back in, but you sign a 4-fight deal. And look at Jerome Rivera. Jerome Rivera is 4-0 in the he's 0-4 in the UFC. They've allowed him to fight out all those 4 fights. Justin James, I believe he lost 4 in a row. They'll allow these guys to lose. I mean, I guess he beat Camacho in his debut, but they'll allow you to lose a couple fights. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for doing the damn thing. And once they realize you're non-competitive and you're taking too much damage, they're going to cut you. And that's what's going to happen here. Figueiredo is not a power puncher. He's not his brother. He's not nearly the same man of his brother, but he probably just needs to glance with one and put Malcolm Gordon over. Now, I'll admit, I'm not big up on Figueiredo, the brother, Francisco. And the thing with Davidson is that he can glance you with a punch and it does a lot of damage. He's got a lot of power in both hands. So sometimes you see the technique. It's not super clean, but he can get away with it. He's also extremely strong for 125 and he's got that guillotine choke. There's variables that make him a fighter. With Francisco, it's like he's got a straight up boxing stance. He doesn't throw the kicks. He doesn't have the same power. His wrestling, he uses it a little more than Davidson does, but his jiu-jitsu doesn't seem as good. I would have a bad feeling that if this thing stayed standing, that Malcolm could have a little bit of success. He either gets knocked the fuck out right away, or he's actually a little bit cleaner with his Muay Thai striking. He spent this camp, as he normally does, with Joseph Valtellini, Bazooka Joe out of Canada, a former Glory kickboxing world champion and a good kickboxer. He's going to be a little more clean and a little more refined. If he gets hit and he gets knocked out, okay, it happens. But if he doesn't get knocked out, he could have the better of these striking exchanges. It's when Figueiredo shoots the takedowns, and he will. If Gordon's really good off his back, if he's good in these scrambles, if he has a good guard, then why could he not frustrate him? Why could he not give him fits? Ultimately, though, it's very hard to win a fight off your back unless you're going to get a submission. I don't think Figueiredo is going to get submitted. So if he gets those takedowns, ends up in top control, he's going to win. If he doesn't get the takedown and it stays standing, he could be getting beat up, but he just needs to land one shot, and then that'll change the complete tide of the fight. So as much as I briefly flirted with the idea of maybe giving Malcolm Gordon a little more respect in this fight, I can't. I just can't. So I'm going to have to go with Figueiredo.
Yeah, that's why I went Figueiredo inside the distance. And then the questions, because I have questions about Figueiredo. That's why I took the under 2.5. Because if maybe Gordon's got an advantage on the mat, sneaks in a sub, at least I get my money back and mitigate some damages for Figueiredo not getting the job done. The minus 320 scares me a little bit on the money. I feel like this is just a kind of a dabble with props kind of card this week. That's what I've been drawn to a little bit more. And that's kind of, I don't have a bet on the next fight coming up here, but that's kind of where my head's at as well. We got Rodrigo Nascimento, minus 350 favorite, taking on Alan Baudot, who can be had for plus 270. Baudot may be the worst heavyweight in UFC history. It's not great. I mean, that Todd Stout fight, which is a win by disqualification, he's getting his ass beat, and then Todd Stout, it was a weed. He tested positive for THC, and that's what flipped it to a win. So the guy's coming off of a loss at 205 pounds to a local guy, a regional guy that we're pretty familiar with from the Toronto area. I can't understand. Okay, so like he's a main training partner, I guess, with Cyril Gane. Just like I can't like. It seems like unnecessary, reckless, to be perfectly honest, to put Cyril Gane and Alan Baudot in the same cage at the same time. Like I can only imagine how much Gane has to like take his foot off the gas whenever they're in there together. And I know that like Gane for a lot of his training camps now, they're bringing in much different bodies. I'm sure, maybe early in his career, Baudot was like a main training partner. There's no way that's the case anymore. The guy's got some decent, like he's got like a judo background. He's got some decent throws, but it doesn't really translate to like wrestling or wrestling defense. His grappling seems very, very questionable. Tom Aspinall was able to take him down, just jumped him out pretty much immediately. Rodrigo, I have concerns about him as well. Mainly, I'm not sure about his durability. Obviously, Chris Daukaus was able to expose him on the feet last time out. His wrestling, I think, is a little bit herky-jerky. He's 27. I'm sure he's making those improvements in the gym, but it doesn't really feel like there's enough. Alan Baudot, probably better 205 pounder, much more domineering 205-pound fighter than at heavyweight. I just don't think that there's too much resistance coming from the takedown defense of Alan Baudot. I think Rodrigo Nascimento finds a submission. All of these props on this fight, pretty juiced. It's tough to find a great line. This fight is one of the ones that the books are being a little bit slower to the draw to be posting props on. But I think the play here, if any, is Nascimento by sub. What about you?
Yeah, Nascimento by sub, and probably in the first round if you really think about it. Yeah, Alan Baudot, you can argue that's like, oh, he's one of the worst heavyweights in the UFC or UFC history, but I would argue he's not even a heavyweight. I'm shocked.
Well, it's like Bojan Mihaljevic was not a heavyweight either, and then we went to 205. He also looked pretty outmatched. Baudot
for sure.
Versus
why didn't Baudot
is the fight? I need to know. Who wins that one.
Why wouldn't Baudot drop down to 205? I mean, he's fought at 205 in the past. He's not exactly the biggest heavyweight going. They say that he's been a training partner of both Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane at various times, but it's like he'd be a middleweight compared to those guys. Like he's way far out of his element. And yeah, I agree, man. They brought him in. So when they brought him in to fight Todd Stout TKO, he was coming off this win in Japan over a Yuto Nagajima, who's 0-2. And that's a repetitive theme of what he was doing in Japan. He was fighting a lot of more freak show fights where he'd fight at 205 or heavyweight because they were open weight against guys with losing records that probably shouldn't be in there, right? He does little judo matches, some custom rules match. He's a bit of a fan favorite, sure. When he fought Todd Stout is a good size 205er, although he's a guy that routinely weighs in at about 2'3", 2'2". He's one. I wouldn't say he's the biggest 205er going, but Todd Stout is a striker. The guy loves to strike. He likes to get in your face. He loves to mix it up. He trains out of a boxing gym, under Ryan Grant, one of the legendary Grant brothers. It's like he is a striker by nature. If you've ever met him, if you've ever trained with him, if you've ever talked to him, like grappling is not his thing. In fact, the guys that train with him are like, dude, just take him down. Like, why would you want to stand with him? Just take him down. This was the first and only time in his career that he decided he would try to grapple. And my God, did he look like $1 million out grappling Alan Baudot. He's never submitted an opponent in his entire career. He's never had any type of success in grappling in his career. Every single one of Todd Stout's pro losses are attributed to his lack of grappling. And yet he styled on Baudot, took his back, choked him out with a rear naked choke. Turns out he was high the entire time. And Quebec decides to stick it to him by not giving him a no contest, but by giving the win to Alan Baudot. Does that make any sense to most people? No, it absolutely doesn't make sense to most people. The other thing that kind of bugs me is that you win this fight over, it's a DQ, right? It should have never happened. You were soundly outclassed. You were soundly out defeated. And then you take 16 months off before debuting against Tom Aspinall. So it's like, there's no way in hell he was going to beat Tom Aspinall. And then again, so Tom Aspinall is a former pro boxer. He's a guy that has sparred with Tyson Fury. He's a guy that has worked a lot of stand-up with Darren Till, same camp, Cowabomb, and over in the UK. He is a bona fide striker. He can grapple a little bit. as you saw, I guess, against Artem Jarlovsky, no hook rear naked choke. But again, it was this fight with Bodo, like his ability to just move to mount so easily. It's like it didn't look like Bodo had a clue what he was doing. And now it's possible that he's been working on it, but like working on it with who? You know, he's in a relatively smaller gym in France, by far the best gym in France. You know, he's got very excellent coaching staff and some good training partners, but his ground game's not making any type of real improvements. And the thing with Rodrigo Nascimento is that he's a big boy. He's a BJJ black belt. And he's out of American Top Team. They're going to have him ready to go out there and do the damn thing. His fight on Contender Series against Michael Martinak looks solid, gets the fight to the ground, first round submission. Dante Mays looks solid, gets the fight down, second round, rear naked choke. It looks like his cardio is okay. It looks like he's a work in progress, but the BJJ is good. The submissions are good. Once he gets you on the ground, that's when you're going to have your biggest trouble. If he decides to stand with Alan Bodo, yeah, maybe he gets caught. We saw him get caught against, it could give him problems. But one, being in an ATT, they're not going to advise that. Two, coming off your first knockout loss to a legitimate guy in Chris Daukaus, you're probably just going to go back to what you do best. Get a hold of this guy, peel him to the ground. The second it hits the ground, expect him to move straight to mount, and then Bodo's got an option. Stay in mount and lose this fight in the next minute and a half, or give up my back and lose the fight in the next 30 seconds. I think he'll give up his back and get rear naked choked, but all the same, Nascimento should buzzsaw right through him. As far as the 3-1 favorites on this card, like he's a heavyweight. He just got knocked out in 45 seconds, but he feels a lot safer than some of the other ones on here. So I'll go with Rodrigo Nascimento to get back in the win column.
All right, so here's what I got on the card this week, Cody. Makhachev, D-Rod, parlay, pays minus 159. I got Vieira sub minus 105. Vieira sub round 1 plus 225. Lemos inside the distance plus 125. Lemos by KO plus 175. Figueiredo inside the distance plus 125. Figueiredo Gordon under 2.5 rounds minus 125. And Nascimento by sub. I'm on the lookout for plus money on that one. I think it's kind of a little bit more of a scattershot type of card. Find some props that you like and hope to hit, because a lot of these money lines are definitely, I like the winners on the certain sides, but the money lines are keeping me away from it. So that's where I'm at. What about you? Hit us with the PRP.
Yeah, I'll hit you with the PRP. Look for props later on in the week, but I agree. I think this is very much a card that you attack with a couple nice plays that you like, and you attack it probably from a prop or a straight up standpoint. Straight money line, not good enough value. Parlays, very dangerous. So props seem like to be the best way to go at this one. However, the PRP, because we're going to hit one of these eventually, Islam Makhachev. I guess Miesha Tate. I really don't like that. Mateusz Gamrot. You know what? I'm going to go with Dustin Stoltzfus. Watch for that to change as far as the tweets come out on Saturday. But as of right now, I'm going to take Dustin Stoltzfus. And he's going to be dog number 1. Gabriel Benitez, Daniel Rodriguez, Amanda Lemos, Sergey Morozov, dog number 2, Miles John, Francisco Figueiredo, and Rodrigo Nascimento. Only 11 fights as of right now. The UFC might add something later on in the week, but we're going to go with 9 favorites, 2 underdogs. And again, we're going to try to limit the action on some of those big guys. So that's the best that we can do for now. I haven't really felt like I was doing good this show. Like, it didn't feel like last week we were having fun. Most shows were having fun. We're excited. Maybe this is the hangover. Maybe this is I just don't love a whole lot of these spots. Maybe it's that I've had to take a massive pee from like 5 minutes after I did that shoey, dude. I've been literally dying ever since then. But regardless, hopefully you enjoyed the show the best if you could. And if the picks come through, then I'll always make it a lot more enjoyable. So if you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at CJ Saftic. And we'll get through this one.
You're great, Cody. You're great.
I'll
Stop being so hard on yourself, Pat.
Yeah, so remember to tune in Sundays on Mayo Media Network. Subscribe to Mayo Media Network, by the way. Thanks. Cody, recaps, right?
Yeah, hells yeah. So actually, that's 2 things that I'll bring up quick and then take off. So yeah, recaps. I mean, we're on Mayo Media Network. Last week, we were just a little bit slow getting it out because some like technical difficulties type thing, but we've got it figured out this week. So hopefully it'll be out by like 10 or 11 on the Sunday. You can catch that up. Again, another show sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. So any support, always appreciated. And then last but not least, a bit of sad news, actually. So, good news and bad news potentially. So my horse, Woodmere Roll Lily, love her. She raced on Sunday, Georgian Downs. She finished 6th. That's not the problem. She got claimed, right? So she's in these races where you can buy any horse out of the race for a fixed claim price. Now, I bought Lily. She cost me $9,000. She made $13,000 in a couple months. The government also gave me $3,000 over a 3-month span during COVID because we couldn't race. So it was like government relief. So I did good on her. And then she got claimed on Sunday by this fucking guy, Richard Moreau, for $22,500, right? So I get taxed on that as well. all in all, it's about $25,000. I can't be upset, but I did like the horse.
That's why your energy level was different this week. You're sad you're sad about Lily.
I was bummed. Yeah, my dad told me like, the first horse he ever lost, he cried about it. He's young, he needs the money. He sells it for $18,000, and then he said after that, like, I'm never gonna get upset again. And so the first horse I ever had, his name's Conflict Diamond. We had with Gabe. Like, that was the first horse I really kind of did every day. And he didn't have a particularly good racing career. And I was upset when I lost him. The second horse I had, his name is Barney Google. Oh my God, he did nothing. There's no effort. Beautiful. Such a beautiful horse. Just did not want to do it. And unfortunately, you can't force these things to race, man. People say it's cruel. No. They either have the competitive edge, they either want to do it, or they will just curl up. In Barney's case, he was a beautiful animal, but he did not want to race. And I got Lily, and again, she's a 9,000 purchase. She had heart, man. She had grit. She had determination. She wanted to do it. She enjoyed what she was doing. And I had a lot of fun with her, right? So I was definitely bummed out, but I understand it is a business. I could go back and buy that horse right back next Sunday. But in my heart of heart, I know she's not worth 22.5. So that's the thing. Like, I got good money for her. And so what I'm going to do now is I got 22 plus the taxes on it. It was about $3,000. So I'm going to take that 25. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it right now. I don't want to do it next month, but I'd like to start up this fractional ownership, get some people that are interested, maybe sell some 1%. I'll put my own 25 up. No problem there. Go get ourselves a nice conditioned horse. Doesn't race claiming ranks. Lily was racing for $6,000, $7,000 a week. We get a good conditioned horse that's racing for 10, 12, 15,000, make it worth everybody's while. But so, don't hit me up on Twitter asking me how Lily is, because it's a sore spot. But also, if you're noticing I'm not giving updates on her, that's why. So it is sad, but what can you do, right? There's always another horse out there. I wish her nothing but the best. The guy that claimed her is actually the 7-time Canadian Trainer of the Year. So like he's the man. The problem that upsets me is I had 2 horses. Lily was one of them. He has 107 horses. Lily's 108 now. Like, what did he need my pony for, right? But anyways, I'm not upset, Paul. Just wanted to throw
Sounds
that
like you're
there,
upset.
so.
Sounds like you're upset. I mean, what would the name of this horse be? If it's mostly, if you're targeting not the right word, but if you're, putting the olive branch out to fans of the Dogger Pass podcast, I mean, maybe the horse needs some sort of draw in to our show here. I don't know.
Here's the thing.
If you want to get in on Cody's horse, reach out to him on Twitter at CJ Saftic. Here's the thing. What were you going to say?
Yeah, you'd have to buy a baby horse that is unnamed, straight, 0 years old. A horse can only legally race at 2, right? If you bought a horse at 1, you could name him whatever you wanted. He hasn't raced yet. But nobody's going to want to buy a 1% of a horse that it's like, this horse will hopefully race 10 months from now. No, they want action right now, right? So that's what we're going to go do. We're going to go get a 5-year-old, 4, 5, 6-year-old horse, something that's aged, something that's conditioned, maybe give 40,000 for him, but something that's going to go out there and race week to week and be tough, make our money back, have a hell of a thrill doing it, and then hopefully build this into something. If we could get 10 more Woodmere Roll Lilies, we'd be rich, but it's hard to find a horse that you can get for 9 and then flip, make 13, money back, 3,000 in my pocket, and then flip her for 22 a month later. Like, that's a lot rare. If we could do that again, great, we would do that. But I don't want people to buy in on this horse and then same thing, you fall in love with the horse, you watch it race 3 weeks in a row, she wins 3 weeks, and then I'm not mad at Marion. Did I seem like I'm mad at him?
Sounds like you're mad at him.
I'm not mad. Life goes on.
He's rent free living in your head right
now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's charging me $22.5 to live in my head.
If you're questioning, I'll just add this in too. Cody's dad is like a legit Hall of Famer in carriage racing here in Canada. So if you're questioning like whether they know what they're looking for when it comes to horses, clearly they do. So you'd be in good hands if you got in on the ground floor, and it sounds like it would be a lot of fun.
And that's why I said I'm not looking to buy a horse tomorrow, and I'm not looking to buy a horse next month, because people said the same thing. Like, don't worry, kid, just go claim another one. If you want to claim it back. But they all recognize, like, listen, this is a good bit of business. Don't buy the horse back. But it was like, go buy yourself something else. Go buy yourself something better. I don't want to force it. I don't want to just, you need a horse, got a horse. Hey guys, you bought 1% ownership on a horse, got a horse. We're gonna get a good horse. We're gonna get something that's gonna kick some ass. We're gonna get something so that we can dunk on Richard Moreau in the future. But I'm not mad.
Yeah,
I'm not
don't
mad.
seem mad at all. No.
Anyways, no, it's all good times. Hopefully he has as much fun with her as I did. And I'll definitely be watching her and cheering her on. Just unfortunately, not my horse anymore. So that's it for this week. And hopefully let's crush some parlays and go get ourselves another one.
All right, that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody Saftic and Pat Mayo on the sticks, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.